The Korati were the galaxy's best hunters. They did not conquer worlds or build empires. They did not care about politics or trade or alliances. They cared about one thing only: the hunt. For thousands of years, they had stalked prey across the galaxy. They hunted dangerous beasts on wild planets. They hunted criminals through crowded space stations. They hunted ships in the darkness between stars. Their ships were designed for one purpose: stealth. They moved silently, undetected, invisible to senses. Their weapons were precision instruments, designed to kill quickly, cleanly, without alerting anyone. Their crews were patient. They could follow prey for weeks, months, years, waiting for the perfect moment. Captain Vaughn was one of the best. He had made more kills than any hunter in a century. His ship, the Shadow Stalker, was legendary among his people. Now he had found new prey. A lone human vessel drifted through a remote sector of space. It was called the Odyssey. Small, slow, unarmed. Its sensors showed no weapons, no defenses, no escorts. It looked like a simple research ship, probably studying stars or mapping planets. Perfect prey. Vaughn smiled as the image appeared on his screen. A lone human ship. Easy prey. This will be a good hunt. His crew nodded eagerly. They had heard stories about humans. Peaceful, friendly, unaggressive. They never fought back. They never suspected danger. This would be the easiest kill of their lives. The Shadow Stalker moved silently into position. Vaughn kept his distance, staying far enough away to remain undetected but close enough to observe. His ship's stealth systems were active, hiding them from every sensor the humans might have. For 3 days, they followed. The Odyssey did nothing suspicious. It drifted slowly through the sector, stopping occasionally to take readings, then moving on. Its crew went about their business, unaware of the danger stalking them. Vaughn watched and waited. He studied their patterns. When they slept. When they worked. When they were most vulnerable. Perfect, he whispered. They have no idea we are here. On the 3rd day, Vaughn gathered his crew. We have observed them long enough, he said. We know their routines. We know their weaknesses. Tomorrow, we strike. His hunters nodded, eager for the kill. We will move in during their rest period. They will be asleep, unready. We will board quickly, take the ship, and leave no survivors. He looked at each of his crew members. This will be quick, easy, just like all the others. They smiled and returned to their stations, preparing for the hunt. Vaughn sat alone, looking at the human ship on his screen. It looked so small, so fragile, so helpless. He thought about the stories he had heard about humans, how they welcomed strangers, how they offered friendship to everyone, how they trusted too easily. Fools, he thought. In this galaxy, trust gets you killed. He checked his weapons, checked his systems, checked everything twice. Everything was ready. Tomorrow, the hunt would begin. Tomorrow, he would add another kill to his legend. Tomorrow, the humans would learn what it meant to be prey. He did not know that on the Odyssey, Captain Alara Vance was watching her own screens. She had known about the Shadow Stalker since the first day. Her senses were better than the Korati knew. She had watched them follow, watched them wait, watched them prepare. She smiled and sent a single message on a secure channel. They are in position. Tomorrow, they strike. Be ready. A single word came back. Waiting. Vance leaned back and looked at the stars. The hunters thought they were stalking prey. They had no idea what was coming. The bridge of the Odyssey was quiet. Captain Ilara Vance sat in her chair, watching the sensor readings with calm interest. Around her, her crew worked quietly, going about their duties as if nothing was wrong. They had been doing this for 3 days now. Acting normal. Pretending they did not know. On her screen, a small blip appeared. Faint. Almost invisible. But there. The Shadow Stalker. They are still there, her officer reported. Still following. Still waiting. Vance nodded slowly. Good. Let them follow. Let them wait. She smiled. The crew of the Odyssey knew the truth. They had known about the Korati hunter since the first day it appeared. Their senses were more advanced than the Korati realized. They could see through the stealth systems, track the stalker's every move. But they did nothing. No alarms. No panic. No calls for help. They just kept drifting, slow and steady, acting like the helpless prey the hunters expected. Vance watched the blip on her screen. The hunter was getting closer now, preparing for something. Probably an attack soon. They think they are hunting us, she said quietly. They have no idea what is happening. The Odyssey was not a simple research ship. That was what the Karate saw. Small, slow, unarmed, helpless. The truth was different. The Odyssey was bait. Built specifically for missions like this. Designed to attract hunters, to lure them in, to make them think they had found easy prey. And behind it, hidden in ways the Karate could not detect, something else was waiting. Something that would change everything. Vance activated a secure channel. Her message was short. Encrypted. Impossible to trace. They are in position. Still following. Still confident. Proceed as planned. She waited. A few moments later, a single word came back. Understood. Vance smiled and closed the channel. The Odyssey continued its slow drift. The crew went about their duties. They took readings. They mapped stars. They acted normal. Behind them, hidden in the darkness, things were moving. Ships. Human ships. Waiting for the signal. The Karate hunter followed, completely unaware. Its crew thought they were stalking prey. Thought they were invisible. Thought they were in control. They had no idea. Vance looked at the blip on her screen one more time. The hunter was closer now. Moving into position. Preparing to strike. Tomorrow, she whispered. Tomorrow they will attack. Her officer looked at her. And then? Vance smiled. And then they will learn. The Odyssey drifted on, patient and waiting. The hunter followed, patient and waiting. Both sides waited for the moment. Only one side knew what was coming. The fourth day arrived. Vaughn stood on the bridge of the Shadow Stalker, watching the human ship on his screen. The Odyssey drifted ahead, slow and steady, completely unaware of the danger behind it. He smiled. The hunt was almost over. Move in, he ordered. Take the ship. Leave no survivors. His crew moved to their stations, eager and confident. Weapons charged. Engines hummed. The Shadow Stalker accelerated, closing in for the kill. This would be quick. Easy. Just like all the others. The hunter ship raced toward its prey. Its crew prepared for boarding. They checked their weapons, their armor, their equipment. They had done this 100 times. They knew exactly what to do. Vaughn watched the human ship grow larger on his screen. Any moment now, they would see him coming. Any moment now, they would panic. He waited for the distress call. The desperate message. The begging. It never came. The human ship did nothing. It did not run. Did not panic. Did not send any signal. It simply stopped moving and waited. Vaughn frowned. Why are they not running? They must see us coming. His officers looked confused. This was wrong. Prey always ran. Always panicked. Always made it exciting. These humans just sat there, waiting. I do not like this, one officer muttered. Vaughn ignored him. Keep moving. We are almost there. Then the sensor officer screamed. Captain! Behind us! Something is behind us. Vaughn spun around. What? What is behind us? The officer pointed at his screen, hands shaking. Ships. Many ships. They are everywhere. Vaughn ran to the sensor station and looked at the display. His blood ran cold. Emerging from behind a nearby moon, ships appeared. Then from inside an asteroid field, more ships. Then from the darkness where no one thought to look, even more. Human warships. Dozens of them. They surrounded the Shadow Stalker completely, blocking every escape route, cutting off every possibility of retreat. They had been there all along. Hidden. Waiting. Vaughn stared at the screen, unable to speak. The human ships moved into position with perfect precision. They formed a circle around the Karate hunter, their weapons trained, their intent clear. Vaughn looked at his own ship. Small. Fast. Deadly in a hunt. But against this? Against dozens of warships. He had no chance. The hunters were now the hunted. On the bridge of the Odyssey, Captain Vance watched the scene unfold. Her ship had stopped exactly where it needed to be. Right in the center of the trap. Right where the hunter would come. And it had worked perfectly. She activated her communication system. Hello, hunters, she said calmly. Did you enjoy your stalk? On the Shadow Stalker, Vaughn heard her voice and felt something he had never felt before. Fear. Real, cold, absolute fear. The trap had sprung. And he was caught. The Shadow Stalker was surrounded. Human warships blocked every escape route. Their weapons were trained on the Karate hunter, ready to fire. There was no way out. No way to run. No way to fight. Vaughn stared at the screens, frozen. His crew looked at him, waiting for orders, for leadership, for anything. He had nothing. Then a voice came through on all channels. Calm. Amused. Friendly. Hello, hunters. Did you enjoy your stalk? Vaughn recognized the voice. The human captain. The one he had been following for 4 days. The one he thought was prey. She did not sound afraid. She sounded like someone who had planned this for a long time. Vaughn found his voice. It came out as a whisper. How? How did you know we were here? How did you plan this? There was a pause. Then the human spoke again. We have known about your kind for years, Captain Vaughn. Vaughn flinched. She knew his name. We know how you hunt. We know your tactics. We know your ships. We know everything about you. Another pause. We built this ship specifically to attract hunters like you. Slow. Unarmed. Helpless looking. Perfect prey, you thought. Vaughn felt sick. And we built the fleet hiding behind us to catch you when you struck. We have been waiting for someone like you to take the bait. Vaughn looked at the human warships surrounding him. Dozens of them. Each one more powerful than his ship. They had been there the whole time, hidden, watching, waiting. He had walked right into their trap. And he had never suspected a thing. You have 2 options, Vance continued. Her voice was still calm, but there was steel underneath. Option 1. You can try to fight. She let that sink in. You will die. Your ship will be destroyed. Your crew will die with you. No one will ever know what happened to you. You will simply disappear. Vaughn looked at his crew, at their terrified faces, at the hopelessness in their eyes. He did not want that. Option 2. You can surrender. Vance's voice softened slightly. You can lower your weapons. You can open your ship to us. You can tell your people what happened here. She paused. You can tell them that humans are not prey. That hunting us has consequences. That if they come for us, they will find not victims, but hunters waiting for them. Vaughn listened. His heart pounded. That is your choice, Captain Vaughn. Fight and die. Or surrender and live. And carry a message home. The bridge was silent. Vaughn looked at his crew one more time. At the fear in their eyes. At the hope that he would make the right choice. He looked at the human warships surrounding him. At the weapons trained on his ship. At the trap he had walked into. Then he looked at the screen, at the calm face of Captain Vance. We surrender, he whispered. We will not fight. The words tasted bitter, but they were also true. He had no other choice. On the Odyssey, Captain Vance nodded slowly. A wise decision, Captain Vaughn. Lower your weapons and prepare to receive our team. You will be treated fairly, and when you return home, you will have a story to tell. She smiled. A story about the day the hunters became the hunted. The communication ended. Vaughn sat in his chair, staring at nothing. He had come here to hunt. He had found something else entirely. Vaughn looked at his crew. Terrified faces. Shaking hands. Eyes that begged him to make the right choice. He looked at the human warships surrounding them. Dozens of vessels, each more powerful than his own. Weapons trained on his ship, ready to fire. He looked at the hopelessness of their situation. There was only one choice. We surrender, he whispered. We will not fight. His crew let out breaths they had been holding. Some cried. Others just stared, unable to believe they would live. Vaughn closed his eyes. He had never surrendered before. Never lost. Never been defeated. Now he knew what it felt like. The human boarding party arrived peacefully. They were professional, calm, efficient. They did not mock or gloat. They simply took control of the ship and treated the karate prisoners with respect. Vaughn was brought before Captain Vance. She looked at him with something like pity. You made the right choice, she said quietly. You will be released soon. But first, you must carry a message home. Vaughn nodded. He understood. Tell your people what happened here. Tell them the truth about humans. Tell them we are not prey. Tell them that hunting us has consequences. Vaughn met her eyes. I will tell them. Weeks later, Vaughn returned to his home world. He was not celebrated. He was not honored. He was a hunter who had been caught, who had surrendered, who had failed. But he had a story to tell. He told it to anyone who would listen. In hunting lodges and training halls and gathering places. He told them about the human ship that did not run. About the fleet that appeared from nowhere. About the trap he had walked into. Humans are not prey, he said. They are something else. They watch. They wait. And when you think you are hunting them, they are already behind you. Some believed him. Some laughed. Some called him weak. But the story spread. Across the karate hunting community, things began to change. Hunters who had once sought human ships now avoided them. They were too dangerous, too unpredictable, too likely to be traps. Stories spread of other hunters who had disappeared, who had never returned from human space. No one knew what happened to them. No one wanted to find out. The legend grew. Humans were not prey. They were hunters themselves. And they were always watching. Years passed. Vaughn grew old. His hunting days were long behind him. He spent his time with his family, telling stories to his grandchildren. One day, his young grandson sat beside him, looking at star charts. "Grandfather," the boy asked, "why do we never hunt humans anymore? I hear stories about them. They sound interesting." Vaughn looked at the boy, at his innocent eyes, at his curiosity. Then he looked at the stars, remembering that day long ago. The human ship that did not run. The fleet that appeared from nowhere. The trap he had walked into. "Because, my boy," he said quietly, "humans do not run. They wait. They watch. And when you think you are hunting them, they are already behind you." The boy frowned. "How do you know?" Vaughn met his eyes. "Because I was there. I learned that lesson myself. And I survived to tell you about it." On Earth, Captain Ilara Vance stood on the bridge of a new ship. She was older now, her hair gray, her face lined with years. But her eyes were still sharp, her voice still calm. A young officer approached, new to the fleet, full of questions. "Captain, will they try again? Other hunters? Other species who think we are easy prey?" Vance looked at the stars, at the darkness where threats might hide, at the unknown that stretched forever. "Probably," she said. "There will always be those who think we are weak, who think they can hunt us, who think we will not fight back." She turned to the officer. "But that is fine. We will be ready. We are always ready." She looked back at the stars. "Let them come. We will be waiting." The ship moved forward, continuing its patrol, watching for threats, protecting humanity. Behind it, other ships followed. The fleet that had been built in secret, waiting for the day it would be needed. The hunters had become the hunted. And somewhere in the galaxy, the karate remembered. And they never forgot.